Hey guys, welcome back to another new video. I thought today I would read you one story for now. It's actually a little long, and then after that I was thinking my next video coming up could be some Reddit stories, and then maybe I will do a part 2 of my Ouija board ghost story experience. I'll give you another tale from that. I think there might be part 3 though, so just keep an eye out for that. But let's get in today's new video. I hope you guys like it. The story is called The Cabin in the Woods. Let's get into it, shall we? I was 41 now, married with 2 kids that are twin girls, and they're named Stella and Farah. They're both 6 years old. I have a good enough job that pays well. I work for an electric company. It's a private company. It's private owned company that me and my grandfather bought together. And we both run it ourselves with only a few other employees to back us up. And that helps us a lot. About 4 years ago, my uncle passed away after a long battle with a bad illness. He just finally passed on. So he left myself and my family a cabin in the woods on a small lake in Massachusetts. I've never been there before. Apparently, he was renting it out to people year round, so he never had a reason to visit. It wasn't anything fancy, but the place had its charm. There was an upstairs deck that overlooked the small lake. Also, there was a small boat house down by the lake with a small boat inside it. There was also a dock that you could walk along and use for swimming as well. After my uncle passed, we started going up to the cabin every summer. Sometimes we stay a weekend or a week or a couple of weeks. It just really depended how we felt. It became a new family tradition really fast for us. The girls were overjoyed. They loved staying there. They would catch fireflies, frogs. Also, they would be swimming until their legs were so tired and biking up the gravel driveway, or they'd also play hide and seek around the property. So, the story happened when we were up there again, and we decided to stay for 2 weeks this time. It was mid-August. We were driving up there. We left our home Friday and got to the cabin by Sunday. We planned on leaving the end of the second week on that Sunday. It was such a beautiful, peaceful, relaxing time in the cabin. I remember during that moment, it was Wednesday. The girls fell asleep by 9 o'clock after a long day in the sun. My wife and I were on the deck upstairs, outside our living room. We were playing cards and drinking some red wine, when, out of nowhere, Stella was standing over us, looking a bit sleepy and scared. I remember just as if it was yesterday. Stella says, "Daddy, I keep hearing scratching and breathing noises by my bed." Inside the closet, I looked at my wife, then I looked at Stella. I stood up and I said to Stella, "Daddy's going to check it out. There's nothing to worry about, honey." And Stella grabbed my hand and came with me. She wanted to show me it herself. So we both walked in to her room. I honestly was just assuming that the house was settling. It's fairly old, and the wood creaks all the time. At night, when it's cooled down, that's when the creaking is the very worst. The girl the girls had their own rooms. So I didn't want to wake Farah up unnecessarily. I had Stella with me. She opened her door and I followed her to her bed. Then she pointed at the closet. She said, "That's where the noises are coming from, inside the closet, Dad." So I walked over to the closet. I opened the door. There was a few pieces of clothing, so I pushed the jackets and shirts aside, and there was a wall. So I pushed my ear up against the wall to listen. And when I was listening, I heard nothing at first. But then I paused. It was quiet, but then I could finally hear it. Faint, low. It was like fingernails scratching on dry wall. It couldn't have been an animal. The sound wasn't coming from above or from the floor. Animal. The sound. It wasn't coming from above or below. No, it was inside the walls. Not just near the surface, but inside it. Then I heard breathing, deep, rhythmic, and definitely human breathing. I staggered back, nearly tripping over my daughter's dollhouse. Then came the screams. Low at first, but then it turned violent. It wasn't normal screams. It was guttural. It was angry, filled with something like feral. It echoed through the walls like a lion roaring in a cave. I yanked Stella by the arm and I bolted from the room. Then I sprinted into Farah's room and I scooped her up into my arms. Farah barely even made any moves at all. She didn't say a word. Now I could hear footsteps inside the cabin. It sounded as if there was it sounded like manic fast, then slow. then fast. It was coming from behind us. As we reached the staircase, just as we hit the landing, I turn around to see what looks to be a woman. She was tall and very old, wearing a torn, stained dress. She was so old, in fact, that her wrinkly skin was exposed in her chest region. It was sagging down, along with her white, stringy hair, matted in dark, old, caked mud, along with her crooked fingers, had yellow nails, chipped and jagged. She looked like a giant skeleton or a witch. She was slowly twitching and turning her head sideways, back and forth, like an owl. She was covered in so much dirt and mud and feces. I could barely make out what she had in her hand by her side until it gleamed in the moonlight. It was a long, huge meat cleaver knife. The knife had smears of something dark on it. Her eyes were wild, almost like an animal. I couldn't yell. No. She didn't even yell. She just charged. Silent, but very deadly, at full speed. I slammed the deck door shut just as she reached it. The glass door was shaking as she smashed her head into it, over and over again, hitting her head on the glass. Boom, boom, boom. She started howling, her hands leaving bloody and muddy finger streaks across the glass. Her eyes locked onto me. She started yelling disgusting, depraved things at me. Things that I don't want to repeat. The kind of stuff that sticks with you in your head the rest of your life. The kind of stuff that sticks with you the rest of your life. I pressed my shoulder into the door to keep it shut. My wife had the girls huddled in a corner, shielding them, protecting them from this monster. She starts pounding and scratching and yelling, and then banging her head off the glass again, smashing her teeth together, grunting back and forth. My arms were shaking from the effort of pushing on the door. She wouldn't stop. Minutes pass, and then minutes turn into hours. And then finally, hours stopped. She was about to break glass door when out of nowhere I saw red and blue flashing lights coming up through the gravel road, through the forest, past the lake, making their way towards our driveway. Finally, two deputies burst into the cabin. One tackled her from behind. The other had to hold her legs down as she thrashed and gnarled like a cornered animal. It took both of them several minutes to subdue her. They hauled her out into the cruiser with handcuffs on, still spitting and breathing like some type of feral beast. One of the officers turned to me and said, "You're lucky. We made it here just in time before she could get a hold of you or your family with that meat cleaver." The rest of the night was a blur. I spoke to the officers while the girl sat in the car with Anna. We searched the whole house together, trying to figure out how the woman got in here. That's when we found a square-shaped opening hidden behind the water heater in the basement. It led into a tunnel, like a crawl space. It was wide and tall enough to crouch in, and deep enough to move around for a taller human. From there, it stretched out to the other end of the house, connected to a false panel. The false panel to Stella's closet. The very wall I had my ear to earlier. I never knew that existed. Apparently, the woman had discovered it some time ago, during the off-season. According to some detectives, she's been living in the crawl spaces undetected for at least 2 years now. She was watching us through the tiny holes in the walls, stealing food, even using our bathroom. When we weren't even home, she would just come out with no issue, nobody to notice her, do her dirty little secret. She referred to the cabin as her home and claimed we were invaders. The plan that night was to reclaim her house, to reclaim what was rightfully hers. After this happened, we never knew what happened to her, nor did we know her name. I hired a crew to fix the cabin up, fill in the crawl space with cement, and put up cameras outside everywhere. We still go to the cabin now, but unfortunately, my daughters and I still have nightmares about this woman to this day. And that was the story called The Cabin in the Woods. So I hope you guys like it. I actually wrote this story myself, so I hope you guys liked it. But yeah, I wrote it myself. I have a little book here. I write stories down, or TikToks or Reddit stories, just ideas. Yeah, so leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys thought of the story. Um, yeah, and just subscribe and like, share, follow, do all those wonderful things. And I love you guys. You guys are my spooky boos, and I hope you guys, my my spooky darlings. I hope you guys come back, and yeah, I'll just put out more content.
Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headaches stack. Restlessness to hell and back. What's my purpose? What do I grab? A slippery surface, a heart attack. And sometimes you just gotta believe there's something that'll give you relief. There's something that'll have what you need, what you need. We're broken, it's tragic, we're not all elastic, but maybe there's magic, believe you could have it. And I know of sadness, the anxious and panic, the infinite vastness of all that is blackness.